So
Richard, for what it's worth, I support you and your opinions as well as your ability to be extremely vocal on how you feel. I think that's something that society lacks. I feel like this is just me speaking personally. I feel like your approach is great, but sometimes the message is not conducted the right way. Possibly, it's why people may take you the wrong way.
well, tell me. Give me specifics. Give me actionable advice.
It's the soft society mentality.
Yeah,
Like
there you go.
Richard comes across as more like he's more confident. He knows what he's going to say. He's drawn to Hector because Hector, he tells you like it is. He doesn't sugarcoat it. There's no two trophies for everybody.
Well,
that's how it should be.
Some people actually appreciate that form of communication, and being in the services business, both B2B, B2C, that you're exactly right. That temperament is welcomed in certain circles, but then really disliked in others. And I don't really have a solution for that, like you said, Richard, because it's the truth. Sometimes it's called the brutal truth because that's what it is, the brutal.
That's what's just so funny to me. So funny to me is it's like people say that I'm outrageous, and you're really like, I just talk about software. Oh my God, the nerdism of it. And then I also happen to have a PP, and it has a dimension that is declared. This is not actual outrage. Like I don't understand what makes people so angry that like I have an accurate opinion of myself. Like I don't even know what the outrageous part is. Like that's what's crazy to me is the world is so screwed up that I'm not even exactly sure what the outrageous part is.
To be honest, it's just a case of you speaking your mind, right? Like you don't skirt around the subject. You're very direct with your messaging and your language. Some people don't like that. And, ultimately a lot of people probably think exactly the same way as you do, especially around Three Arrows, and obviously with Pachinski and what's happened with CeFi and people offering attractive buzzwords and ridiculous APYs to attract vulnerable people in that are maybe new to crypto or just inexperienced with handling their own money, essentially just preying on these people. And this is why it's really important that we have people like yourself speaking out against it and being frank and open and honest about it. I mean, not everybody's going to like the words that you use, but the message that you're conveying is certainly a noble one, in my opinion.
I like when the news agencies will do an interview with me and then purposely say, like, we will not cover any of your products. So thank you for predicting the future and all the price movements and stuff, but we will definitely not mention any of the things that you've invented that specifically solve these problems. It's like, wow, it's amazing. So anyone else in the world could talk about my stuff, but not me. That's great.
Yeah.
Richard, have you ever been banned? Like, what's the word tag? Ghost banned?
Shadow banned.
I've just been straight up banned off YouTube about 4 times. I'm banned on Facebook. They keep unbanning me on YouTube. I never even tried to get unbanned on Facebook. I didn't care. My account's restricted from marketing on Insta. Can't buy ads. The world is unfair.
No doubt. I'm partly shadow banned on Twitter for the sake that you can't advertise your crypto. But I hear what you're saying though, because it's like you got the eloquent spoken that are rugging people left and right. It's like, what's wrong with the brash guy that's leading a community, right? Like,
people just the truth, man.
What I'm realizing. I mean, as the years pass, you figure people would like update their worldview. Like there used to be a BCH versus BTC debate. I was on the BTC side. BCH is down 99% versus BTC now. I won. But like, does anyone go back and check the tape and be like, oh, god darn, Richard was really right. And he showed us the coins in a safe way with a virtual machine so that we wouldn't get our keys hacked by a bad node. And then like, and this happens over and over again. And it's like, Richard called the top on the day. And then people are like, the guy that went irresponsibly long, his words, with the largest position of his life, his words, Raul Paul. I ain't never been on his channel. I told him, hey man, ladies, liquors, and leverage, that's how you're going to lose your money. That's how smart people get wrecked. I told Sailor not to get leveraged up. I told 3AC not to get leveraged up. I told Raul not to get leveraged up. I told him the top was in. So I just, at what point do I get the respect that I earned from being right again and again and again? And I'm not wrong. Like, where's the call I ever deleted? I never delete nothing. I was wrong once, hoping that the bull market would return from 93 down to 85, and then I called that it was dead, and we went down to 3 in
Richard,
2018.
while we're speaking, would you mind giving a market sentiment on how you feel the next year and a half year will go within the market, if you're comfortable doing so?
I mean, the bear market would be over now, but these idiots, instead of letting the normal market cycle blow off top play out, they went and got leveraged up and bought another double top. So now they have to get washed out, and they delayed the market bottom by 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So
gotta hold the chart up, huh? They FOMO'd in their own bag.
Right. They bought a double top with their entire stack, so now they're getting all liquidated and delayed the bear market bottom. The problem is, like, my normal 85% drop call, which I'm just calling conservatively 11K. Mathematically, I think it's 10,650. It could be invalidated by the Fed just increasing the cost of dollars. So is the Fed increasing
outside factors? You're talking about those outside factors you don't see on the chart.
Exactly. So, like, they don't understand, like, when you look at a Bitcoin chart, you're looking at Bitcoin versus dollar. That means that the value of the dollar actually has its own effect on the chart. And so we've always had Bitcoin in a macro where the printing was as high as it's ever been, and the interest rates were as low as they've ever been, and the money was the cheapest it could ever be, which drove asset prices all very high. Now that they're doing monetary contraction and reducing the money supply, and even the EU just raised its interest rate for the first time in 11 years yesterday.
0.5.
0.5%, I think.
Yeah.
It was either 50. It might have just been 50 basis points. It might have also been 0.5%. It was one of those two. They are 100x different, or 10x different. So, like, the issue is that your normal 85% dump might go deeper because the value of the money has gotten more expensive. So basically correlated to interest rates, which means, for the idiots that are listening that don't know what inversely correlated means, it just means that when interest rates go up, because the Fed raises it, the guys that aren't elected, the private company called the Federal Reserve, that's a private company, when it raises the rates, then the stock market goes down. And when the stock market goes down, consumer spending on rich people stuff goes down. So that's the watch top. I called the top in watches as well as crypto.
Are you
I was right on that too.
Are you saying this is a first in crypto because of 9? This is the first time the government is actually right. Okay.
Yep.
That makes
and
sense.
So now that money is for the first time getting more expensive relative to where it was 6 months ago. So lumber's down like 30%, watches are down 25%. I think Amazon's down maybe half, maybe 30, 40%. And I think that even, like, it gave back all of its COVID gains. I think I don't have the chart in front of me right now, but I think that's my last recollection of it. And so basically, you could get a lower than 85% target, and let's have a bull run in Bitcoin until that 30% discount on Grayscale Bitcoin goes away. What entity would be given the option to buy Grayscale Bitcoin at a 30% discount, which is getting the same? It's like getting a 50% bonus. 33% discount equals 50% bonus. And then it also trades at a premium when it does go up. Usually trades at like a 20% premium. Why wouldn't you buy at a third off and get a 20% premium later? Until that goes away, you're not ever getting a bull run. So it's not happening.
Let's break. They've already purchased their Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So you can go essentially have influence on that without even impacting OTC's market at all.
Yep. So you can go buy Grayscale fake encapsulated Bitcoin, which you can't redeem, but historically has traded at a premium. You can go buy that for a third off and just wait till it gets its premium back in the bull, if it ever does. I mean, the exchange traded funds might eliminate that premium, and they're trying to become an ETF themselves. I'm not exactly sure what their angle is on that, why they want to do that as a company, but they charge 2% a year on that. So they own 3% of all the Bitcoin, and they charge a 2% a year holding fee, and then, like, they make $600 million a year or something, just like free and clear, like net. It's wildly profitable business. So yeah, like, until that discount goes away, You're not going to get a bull run. I think these are just dead cat bounces.
100%.
So yay,
It's a race
yay!
to the
Like,
bottom, man.
well, FTX came in and bailed everybody out, but didn't really bail them out, and they're probably unwinding their position by like. So they got the theory on FTX kind of buying the bottom was they bought some lenders staked ETH at a 15% discount, and then they probably dumped that stake ETH OTC, but had to short to cover it, short normal spot ETH to cover it, so they pushed the price down. But once they were able to dump their staked ETH on OTC, then they had to unwind their short position. And so, like, literally, the theory is that this dead cat bounce you see here is recovering the staked ETH that they bought. Sounds like a valid position to me. And then there's other open issues like, when are the Gox coins coming out? And are the Finex 70K going to be sold? Or are they going to be given back to Finex? And is Ross Ulbricht's coins going to be sold by the government, which apparently they are? And how many of those are there? And is Saylor actually going to get, how much leverage did he take on? Is he going to get liquidated? Is he going to have to sell?
I think
And this is just in the top of the normal market cycle. And how many lenders have been bankrupted yet? Apparently, well, will they be? And what about KuCoin? I hear KuCoin has huge Luna exposure, huge. I hear they're bankrupt behind the scenes too. And then what? And if they have to like try and cover people's withdrawals, how much are they going to have to sell to do it? It's like I think there's a whole ton of leverage that still needs washed out. And you'll be lucky. My saying is 11K and pray. So if the bear stops at 11K, be happy. But until I see that premium, the discount disappear, you can get it on.
I would love to hear the rest of the panel. I mean, guys, I'm gonna put this off. I'm gonna put this forth. Tech and I are not gonna call. We're not gonna raise hands in here. You guys are welcome to speak at any point in time. Rebuttal to anybody as long as it's cordial and polite. If anybody has a different opinion aside from Richard, we're more than happy to hear it.
I don't have a different opinion. I don't think I could ever possibly call the bottom. But I do wonder if, like, our version of DeFi, if what we're trying to achieve is a sort of efficient allocation of capital, where perhaps market participants don't have to worry so much about market cycles, where if you join good projects and large communities, a viable community where it's decentralized but can also efficiently allocate its resources among itself, like then maybe we can get the kind of mass adoption where we can end the sort of centralized skim that bankers and Robinhood and all the rest enjoy. Maybe if we can liberate ourselves from this idea that we can all call the top, call the bottom, and enjoy market cycles, and instead just try to find a way to benefit long-term adopters in DeFi rather than early adopters. At least personally, we'd get closer to what my version of DeFi is optimally.
So,
Peter,
but I think the problem.
Peter, I think you're right. Sorry about that. Love the insight. Definitely agree 100%. I think I have a question too as well. I'll add it to yours, which is very similar. Stop this madness of the things that we continue to do over and over, just like all the different, tokens that come out. They follow the same strategy. I'm just, I'm trying to find out and be the face of how do we become not only different, and I don't want to use the word different because it's just so basic, but I think sometimes basic is what we need, and I feel like there's that have happened with all these different projects and all these, as Richard has said. I think there's just how do we legitimize the DeFi space now with some of these new things we're talking about?
Well, in my view, like one thing that we can try to improve is all the jingoism and all the what's the next 1,000x gem, what's the next 10,000x gem. Those kinds of gains are only accessible to people that find the top exit liquidity. So it's not going to be a common result for folks, no matter what kind of market you're in. So to the extent we can kind of rearrange our thinking around providing sustainable goals, ways to elevate community, ways to elevate decentralization, rather than focusing so much on number go up over time. Sure, bull runs are fun and they're a lot better, up is better than down. But if we find a way to create systems that are geared towards efficient allocation rather than massive redistribution, in my view, we'll be better off.
So go ahead, Richard.
Most of the stuff is scams. So if you think about what cryptocurrency is actually useful for, it's useful for censorship resistance. It's useful for removing counterparty risk. And if you think about how many things in DeFi actually remove counterparty risk, there are very few. So I'll give you an example. How many DeFi, quote, DeFi projects have a single front end, and when it goes down, everyone's fucked?
Everyone's fucked, yeah.
Most of them.
100%.
Right. So, like, I'm telling you, in Hex, there's like 6 or 8 front ends, and anyone could go down, and they're all run by different dev teams on different code bases. They have nothing to do with me. They're all truly decentralized, and they were at launch. We're fine. But and so DeFi is actually centralized bullshit. And then how many of these projects have admin keys?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you've got centralized front ends, you've got admin keys, and then you've got these bridges. So billions of dollars has been lost to bridge hacks. 100%. Guess what? When I fork the Ethereum network, you don't have to bridge over because your coins are already on the other side. You can bridge if you want, but you don't have to. And so it's a more effective, better security model. You know, how many of these DeFi projects require permission from you to click OK? Fuck, you're clicking OK to. You have no fucking idea what you're clicking OK to at all. And how many of these fake giveaways steal everyone's coins? Oh, 100%. Get your free airdrop, you get all your coins stolen. Well, in Hex, guess what, man? You don't ever have to give permission for shit. It doesn't ask you for permission because it was designed with a better design pattern where we never ask you to authorize any contract to do anything. It just uses message sender as the authorization, and then you don't have some risk that you authorize a contract. And now the fucking thing just empties your wallet. 100%. And so these 100%. Bad design patterns, fake DeFi, admin key, counterparty risk laden bullshit, and DAOs are another function of this. Uniswap had a DAO. They just decided to give like 20 or 50 million to some fucking company no one ever heard of before to do, quote, education. And then they just took the money and no one ever heard from them again. Now explain to me how the fuck that's better. So like, this fake DeFi, centralized scam bullshit, it ain't helping nobody. And this like people jump into shit coins and then hope to dump them quick enough to jump into some other shit coin. And then everyone gets holding the bag at the top. That's not innovation. That's just holder violence. If everyone would just buy a good thing and fucking hold it, that thing would moon hard as shit and everyone would be happy. But instead they dilute their economic energy across all these fucking scams. And then, you know, if the scammers hold their scam profits in crypto, then I guess the crypto price still goes up. But if these fuckers dump to USD, then it hurts all of crypto. And so, I mean,
there's some projects DeFi that are just dangling carrots right in front of people, like with high APIs, promises of 1000x. You know, and the centralization issue in DeFi is massive. Like the governance of DeFi, like my version of DeFi would be a governance that the holders would have to make decisions on changes to the token, right? That's how it should be. And like in DeFi, right?
With that. I disagree with that. I think wisdom of the mob is very poor. I think these bag holders are not capable of making technical decisions. I don't want a heart surgeon to take the votes of the other plebs standing around him on like what he should cut next. I think plebs are plebs, and I don't think they should make technical decisions.
Plebs are
plebs. I certainly think that innovation and technology should still be pioneered by the brains in the teams that are running the tokens and the projects. But I think the token as itself, when it comes to core decisions regarding the token and the liquidity that obviously that token comprises of, should be in direct consultation with the community, and that they should have an eye, help make those decisions on what happens to that liquidity and the key functions of the smart contracts. That's
that's literally a security. Like what you're describing is literally a regulated activity. The definition of the Howey test is you put money into a common pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others. Well, in this case, who are the others? The people that are fucking voting on how to distribute the treasury, like a board of directors. This is the scammiest. They vote the guys that funded the fucking project and got in first in the seed round, who is usually 80%. A to Z, fucking Y Combinator guys. And like those guys then vote to just ass
Yeah.
fuck the protocol however they want.
The,
And what you end
the,
up
the
with
truth,
is
the truth
actually
is,
just a proxy for centralized ownership, because the plebs are never going to outvote the VC anyway.
You speaking
100%.
that shit, Richard. You are
I can,
speaking
I,
that shit.
I completely disagree that it was a pure definition of security, but I do think that there's total mismanagement and misappropriation of liquidity in DeFi right at the moment, and the governance of DeFi is severely lacking improvements, because if we don't do it, if we don't create a framework for our own self-regulation, then governments and agencies around the world will do it for us. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think the cat is out of the bag a little bit in the sense of how DeFi protocols work. I think there is an appetite for people to join communities they like and accept a certain amount of centralization and a certain amount of interaction with the people at the top of that project. But unfortunately, that has led to a lot of scams as well. So the question then becomes, do we try to organize, okay, everybody drop everything and just buy Bitcoin and just buy Bitcoin and just sit there? That might work in terms of immediate adoption and quick number go up. But I think people like innovation, they like change, and they like having alternatives. The problem is, for the time being, there are too many alternatives, and the question is, how do we vet them? How do we as a community decide which ones are worth pursuing and which are not? And that's
we have
question.
perfect examples. We have perfect examples of admin key free, multiple front end having, wonderfully working protocols. Uniswap v1 worked perfectly. Uniswap v3 worked perfectly. Now, they introduced light admin keys by allowing them to activate a switch, which would activate a tax on all future additions to liquidity. They never used that, but they did stick it there. But V1 never had any admin key at all. V2 and V3 had this light admin key, but they're still, and by the way, that's only new liquidity ads. The old guys don't get, retroactively taxed. So Uniswap is a wonderful example of a protocol that doesn't have admin key, truly innovative, truly useful, truly open source, except again, in the case of V3, where they added a 1-year time lock where you couldn't actually fork the code for a year. They use a less permissive license. So what's another example? Hex, no admin keys. I die. So what? Everyone's got their own front ends. Everyone does their own stuff.
So
Those are really the only two examples I know of where it was done right. And all these other examples, I can't say whether they're done right or whether they're really just obfuscated, centralized. Like all the things that really, anything that runs on Chainlink, 2 guys could change what their price feed is. And they did with gold. They published a bad price feed for gold. No one was ever penalized. No one was ever harmed. You don't lose any security bond. You don't lose anything. It's a joke. So like anything that relies on an oracle, it's not actually DeFi.
So is Hex a series of smart contracts on Ethereum, or is that its own block?
No, it's just one single smart contract with 3 audits, 2 security audits, 1 economics audit.
No
It has no
proxy.
admin keys, no proxies, no admin keys. You can't change it. As a matter of fact, when Vitalik started screwing us by making the S-load function cost 14 times more than when we wrote the fucking contract. Thanks, Vitalik. Good job. On top of the gas fees going up. So not only did he cause reading from disk to cost 14 times more, that multiplies by the gas fees. So because Hex is immutable, I had to make a fork of the entire chain to save everyone from the fees. So the only way I could try and save hexagons and save Ethereans was to make more supply. Because supply blockchain, we do want to increase the supply. Let's make a higher throughput, less environmentally impactful fork. So it's just like BSC, but with system state injected. So like BSC is a fork of Ethereum, higher throughput, lower cost,
100%.
but it didn't give you any free coins. Hex is basically BSC, but it gives you free coins and it does fee burning in the protocol. And so like if Hex were changeable, I don't know. It's already gas efficient. It does caching, it does bitwise shifts. There's nothing you can do to make the contract more efficient that I could.
Have you ever done any upgrade, or you're still rolling with the OG deployment?
You can't.
From?
There is no upgrade. It's impossible.
No upgrade, no proxy. Okay, you didn't even replace, no migration. You're rolling with day one's code.
Exactly. The same way Uniswap. Exactly. The same way Uniswap V1 did. There's no counterparty risk. There's no admin key risk. And it works great. I mean, listen, this is the reason we're more secure against bugs than Bitcoin is, and more secure against Ethereum. So Bitcoin has had inflation bugs where anyone could mint as many free coins as they wanted twice. A bug where anyone could mint as many free coins as they wanted, but they caught it before somebody used it. XLM had the inflation bug. AVAX had the inflation bug. They were both used. Ravencoin had the inflation bug. A hacker mined 10% of the Ravencoin supply and dumped it on exchange.
You definitely did.
Hex will never have that problem that all of those other successful, or rather popular coins have had, because our consensus code is locked and isolated and immutable and untouchable, and theirs aren't. And so theirs accidentally gets screwed. And so that immutability makes us more secure than even Ethereum itself. Ethereum's consensus code is not locked and isolated in a contract where you can't accidentally screw with it. It's touching everything else, just like Bitcoin's. It's not modular. So ours is a safe within a safe. It's actually a better security model to secure you against inflation bugs, which are the most common and harmful bugs in cryptocurrency.
Tech, can you hear me?
I can hear you. It went kind of
Yeah, we
silent
hear
for
you.
everybody for a minute.
I thought we had cut out, but I guess we didn't cut out. I would love to hear the panel's thoughts. Hector, you were giving up some thumbs up and clapping hands, and Richard and Tech were talking. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions and views on the matter.
Yeah, so for the most part, generally, I tend to agree with Richard. A lot of this shit is a scam, and there's plenty of scams that people are going around trying to sell off to others, less suspecting, less technical, as the future, as a possibility, as an innovation, as a change. And so I think it's more so I align a lot with Richard in that sense. A lot of this shit is really just shit. None of this shit works. There's a lot of central actors. DAOs aren't really DAOs. There's small group of people who are making decisions at the end of the day when doing things. And I speak from experience as being part of DAOs and like seeing the inner workings of DAOs. It doesn't really, you really feel like you have this like false sense of belief that you are the one that is making an impact, when in reality, they just, on the facade, the Discord, the front end, you kind of feel that way, but in reality, it's just a small number of people who are at the end of the day going to decide which way things are going to go and what they're going to do. And you have various examples of that happening also. I don't think that. Go ahead.
But the real problem in the way Richard phrased it was economic energy, right? Like the reality is like we're just circulating the money that's been offboarded off exchanges and into these DeFi wallets.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that you're creating this. Basically, you're losing power in the sense of like,
some are losing power because
but I mean, right? Like in the general sense, like crypto versus the status quo of today, right? Like people like generally together are trying to like make a change in the world, fragmented apart because everyone's chasing the newest, latest thing when they don't know what the newest, latest thing can actually do, and they don't have any technical or like economic understanding of how do we fix the problem of traditional finance today, or the traditional, I guess, requirement to have a third party to do things. That isn't the understanding, and you're getting fragmented away where it's like divide and conquer instead of unite and try to do something that's going to be revolutionary in the future. Like Bitcoin, BTC had that opportunity, right? Like it was the way to do it, but it caused this literal fragmentation, which we saw with Ethereum, and then cascaded on to now. And like that's why I believe, at least in my opinion, why Richard does what he does is because he believes that someone is not taking the reins or doing it correctly, therefore he must step up and do it. And so like I applaud that effort. I could disagree with his approach, but overall, like I feel like he has a better understanding in that sense. And I think most people who are getting into crypto are getting into crypto for the idea of I'm going to get rich and I'm going to make money before anyone else, and I don't give a shit what it does or what is going to, therefore I can just dump on someone else. And so that's kind of the bad approach to take it. And Richard does, you kind of just, you do, go after the idea that you will make money or you have made money and we can make money. But I think there's some sort of more fruitful purpose as to why you believe that. It's not just some scam pump, in my opinion. I think you really honestly think that you're offering something that's much better, and you have, I guess, the technical technical arguments that you make are more satisfactory than I'd see in like pretty much 99% of everything else that's come up in trades. That's just like how I view it, and yeah,
I mean, this stuff's software, right? They're just tools. Like people get all culty about this shit, but in reality, I'm not a screwdriver Phillips head maximalist. I'm not a flathead maximalist. I'm not a Torx head maximalist. If you want
Love
anonymity,
that hammer.
yeah, man. If you like anonymity, you should use Tornado Cash, because all the guys that tried to use coin mixing and coin join on on Bitcoin got caught. They're all busted. You could try and use Ethereum, no one accepts it, and they had a where if you used your coins less than an hour after you got them, you weren't actually anonymous. So you know, and where's like so. Let's say you want to de-risk. Let's say you want to get into a stable coin. Well, I suggest you use Ethereum because that's where the stable coins live. The majority of the stable coin liquidity. You know, if you want to trade without having counterparty risk, I suggest you're on Ethereum because that's where all the liquidity that's in automated market makers is, indexes. You know, if you want to buy $1 billion and watch the price not go up, well, Bitcoin's for you because very liquid order.
That's heavy. That's
Yeah.
heavy. I love it.
Let me make a phone call real quick.
So, you know, and it's like, so Hex's claim to fame is it monetizes time. And we know the time value of money is a thing. There's more money in time deposits than there is in printed cash. I'm so lucky that no one else just took the obvious idea. Like if you're trying to take the whole analog crappy bank world and make it blockchain, well, geez, what's the most popular product at the bank? The one that pays you extra if you lock your money. Well, hell, why doesn't someone do that? I got really lucky that someone left that open. Yeah, there's still other open things like the actual peer-to-peer currency thing. No one actually does that yet. We don't have a peer-to-peer currency. So I got time deposits. Bitcoin tried to do currency, but they failed at it. So now they're kind of store of value. But like Ethereum does a better job of store value. It's up 3x versus Bitcoin from the COVID dip, and will be, if they get their merge done and if they switch to proof of stake, negative issuance. They will burn more fees than they emit. And then with Pulse Chain, it just only burns. It burns 25% plus. It's like IP 1559 burn, and it's got its own internal 25% burn. So what is Bitcoin going to say about being the world's hardest money when it still inflates to pay miners to pollute the environment and dump the price, but Pulse Chain and Ethereum just become more rare because they burn more coins than they emit? So like, I don't know. I think Bitcoin's at the top of its S curve. I think its gains will forever be limp. I mean, it's like, maybe it's probably still better than the stock market.
Correct. Limp compared to what? Because you're seeing, right? Like I'm seeing 100x out of Bitcoin anytime soon, right? I probably won't be alive if that does happen. When you say that limp, what do you see in your eyes? It might get to 200.
Well, I mean, look. You just measure it. I got to de-educate so many people. People think inflation's bad, but they are only looking at the supply side, not the demand side. When did Bitcoin pump the hardest? When its inflation was the highest.
And the highest.
When did Bitcoin pump the hardest? When its centralized ownership was the most centralized. When did it pump the hardest? When Satoshi, when there was no liquidity, there's only one place in the world to buy it, and everyone called it a scam. And so people look at this opportunity and they're like, oh, I hate opportunity. Let's go buy the thing that's at the top of its S curve already, that already has everyone. It's already on the news, you know? So the things that aren't on the news yet are where the opportunity is, in my opinion.
You got the heavy bag holders that are on an average of $100 a coin right now, right? Like you got to fight against that over time, right? Because they're going to capitalize on every top better than anyone else.
I mean, look at the chart; it's falling over. I mean, you waited 5 years to get a 3.5x your all-time high. That's trash. It's trash. Like Hex went up 10,000x in 2 years. It's like Ethereum went up 14,000x in 2.5 years from its crowd sale. So like, you know, why would you hold this limp thing that drops just as hard as everything else? Bitcoin dropped 75%, Ethereum dropped 85%, Hex dropped 95%. And when they get back up, which one do you think is going to get back up the hardest? It ain't Bitcoin. It's too heavy.
Foundation of all the money in crypto, right? It's pegged to almost everything. So it's like, what is the solution, right? Like,
The
everyone
solution
knows.
is everybody sells it for better stuff, to tell you the truth. There's
Wow.
no reason to let a bunch of bag holders dump on you forever that have an inferior product. It's just software. Use the
But then
better software. Ethereum's better than Bitcoin in every way.
it gets back to that top heaviness too, though, right? Like the exchanges aren't incentivized to see this go down, right? So
Yeah, but
so
those guys are all wrecked and bankrupt already anyway. So like, what do they matter? Like Coinbase, like why do I care about what these decentralized scumbags think? I don't care.
I want to welcome the new members of the room, new speakers. Christine, Profits, Miss Teen Crypto. You guys are more than welcome to give an introduction to yourselves.
Christine, you can go first.
you got it, Profits. I didn't see unmute.
Oh, what's up? I'm just saying hi and I'm enjoying the conversation. Um, it's actually pretty cool to hear. I've been following Richard for years and a lot of other people that look up to him and his insight, and I think it's on point. Even for me, being in the last two cycles. I've been in crypto since 2014. My perspective has changed dramatically, um, only because we love the tech for sure, but we still live in a world where we need to survive, and you need money. So there's no reason to hold, like Richard just said. Took you 3-4 years to get something that doesn't make sense when these other markets are producing such a bigger ROI. But I'm enjoying the conversation, and it's pretty productive here on this beautiful Saturday. So thank you, everybody, for your energy.
Profits, we enjoy you coming around, always do. Christine and Missing Crypto, if you guys are here, you guys are more than welcome once again to introduce yourselves. If you're not, we can get back to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm enjoying the conversation as well. And sorry, Profits, I didn't hear you. I was like making coffee and then I just heard my name. I'm like, what? But the perspectives of Bitcoin definitely fascinating. I'm bullish on both, and I tend to think that Bitcoin is more of, how they say it's just no one wants to spend it, and Ethereum seems more transactional. So I'd want to hold both, and I think that it's productive to hold both, but I always hear the debate on both sides, and those that are bullish on Ethereum seem to tend to look down on Bitcoin, and I think it's funny, but I think holding both is great, but definitely enjoying the conversation. Sure.
So Richard went down, like the certificate deposit route, right? Like you're rewarding the people who keep their word, say I'm going to do this, and throughout he provides them 24/7. You can withdraw at any point. Obviously, you've read the terms, the penalties. But one of the, I guess, things that us Web3 DJs or you hear a lot is you got to bring that Web2 money in, and that Web2 money in the Web3. Web2 is overgeneralized, right? Like there's very few real Web2 money out there, right? You got the Googles and things of that nature. But the adoption and the growth really comes in when those pipelines of money and services and legitimized business actually starts bringing it in, right? Bringing new money in instead of circulating the same money. Like Freddie mentioned earlier, every launch on BSC, Chronos, or Ethereum, the liquidity provider bots that are listening for when the LP pool is opened up, they all have the same thing. They pump to these outrageous all-time highs, right? A few people FOMO in thinking it's going to go make everyone else $1 billion project. Those early investors will have the technology to jump in. They cash out. Everyone's left holding the bag, and then it's whether you have that leadership and that technology and that funding and celebrity influence, right? To bring it back up, and very few have that. So it's like that's what I believe is the next phase of it, so that we're not dependent on circulating the same money and hoping that a whale comes in. But what is everyone's thoughts on bringing in real business?
Oh,
Well,
dog, I got
you know,
your answer right here. The wallet sucks shit. You can't pay nobody. You can't even do a batch payment, bro. You gotta have you
100%.
gotta have your computer checked to make sure that the payment actually went through. Sometimes you go to send a payment on Ethereum, it says accepted. You check 15 minutes later, it lied. It got orphaned.
yeah,
That's not okay,
I,
man.
I, I 100% agree. I think that also goes with barrier of entry, Richard. I don't know if you'd use that same word, but being new guy to this space and really focused on, not having half the experience that you guys are talking about, but investments. I have a very colorful background, and that's where I'm really focused on is how do we bring in that that pipeline of new money, new investor. How do we bring those in? And that's kind of where my mission is again, to your point, Richard, software, man. I mean, pick the best one, pick the one that's solid, a foundation. I mean, we could sit here and have a discussion of new tech versus old tech and what stable and stability brings, but that discussion around real business, and I'll say that carefully because the word new businesses, what do we do? What is some of the things? I have some ideas,
Freddie, I
but
have an
really
answer. I have
go
an
ahead.
answer really, really quickly. Missing crypto. I know you walk around New York handing out cards and talking about Bitcoin. You want to relate to that really quickly and what you're doing and how you help out the space?
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. Well, yeah, I go around New York City a lot. That's where I'm based. And I approach random people on the street asking them for the past 2 years if they know what Bitcoin. And, it's been getting a lot better with the mainstream adoption. People know about it now. Although I did visit Wall Street a few weeks ago, and none of the people on Wall Street I talked to really knew about Bitcoin, what it was, and they didn't own any. So I think adoption's getting better, but I feel like, kind of piggybacking off of what Freddie was saying, I'm a little worried about what mainstream adoption will look like, because I remember when I think it was the other side or the other Deeds Land was going on with Bored Ape Yacht Club, Ethereum got really congested. So I'm just worried about, high gas fees. Will ETH 2.0 fix this? I mean, there was a lot of people that had failed transaction fees. And what if there's the transactions going on Ethereum every day because it's just mainstream? Everyone's trying to use Ethereum, use DeFi, use dApps. Like, will we have that problem again? Or is there going to be some blockchain that maybe we're not even aware of right now that can come out and people are just like, wow, this is where we should build our economy? Like, is it going to be on Ethereum? I'm not sure about, technically if it's sound enough, but I know Ethereum's definitely scaling, but that other things like that other deed sale is what scares me a little bit.
100% agree. I mean that's what you got big businesses wanting to build on the blockchain, and if they do, they run the risk of their users having failed transactions, still having to pay like ludicrous gas fees to actually try and to have that transaction in the first place. So I
think
completely
people
agree with that.
forget. I think people forget that Ethereum has half the market cap Bitcoin does. That's pretty close.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think Bitcoin is effectively dead in the sense that it's not able to generate economic activity to sustain itself. When in contrast, when you look at Ethereum, for example, 99% of fees are paid by people who are doing things. You may not agree with what they're doing. I don't agree with what they're doing, but people are willingly able to pay and willing to pay for actions they're willing to take on the blockchain. And that is a very, very different approach than BTC, where 99% of the miners are being paid by the subsidy of the network itself. So very, very low amount of people, roughly like $300,000 worth, are actually paying to do things because
Would you
they're
agree? Would you
subsidized.
agree that it's analogous to kind of how the different trading in different companies like Fidelity, Vanguard, and all of them grew up, with all the different fees and pay? Would you say that it's analogous to that, Richard? Anybody?
Sorry, can you clarify like what you mean a little bit?
Just the fee aspect. You said that the fees
No,
are.
I mean, like there's two different kinds of fees. There's fees that you want to pay, and there's fees you don't want to pay. And so basically, like some of the Ethereum fees, people would prefer not to pay them if they could, but they have to. Then the other question is like, what is that fee money being used for? So on Ethereum, unfortunately, that fee money currently just pollutes the environment. Now they're trying hard as they can to, get into proof of stake instead of proof of work. I mean, like also you need fees for security, right? So if Bitcoin, as the other speaker said, generates all of its revenue from block subsidies and not from fees, then no one actually has to secure the network once the block reward dies enough. And so every time there's a halvening, your security actually can go down a little bit because that security subsidy was coming from inflation. And as they drop the inflation, now you just rely on fees. No one wants to actually pay the fees because, I mean, what can you really do with Bitcoin? You're going to send it from one address to another. You can't actually like do real DeFi, right? There's no NFT launches. There's no time deposits. There's no like any stuff that people really want. So I think long term, the fact that Ethereum is like 99% of all the fees in all blockchains is pretty good because it shows that this stuff is really valuable and people will really pay for it. I mean, I don't know. Some of the stuff they shouldn't pay for though. Like, I don't know, guys. The monkey pictures. I'm not a bull in the monkey picture market. You know.
Yeah. So you touched on something that I mean, we didn't let you compound around interactions with the wallets, the whole having to wait time. Is the Pulse chain addressing that? Or are you trying to redefine
Well, it's just
and
it's
further
a fork of
secure?
Ethereum. It's a fork of Ethereum with 3-second blocks instead of 13-second blocks.
Okay, so it's, for right now, you're essentially, essentially the same thing with a Binance twist to it. Or you guys are proof of stake, or
Well, yeah, it's proof of stake. So, we do fee burn. We use proof of stake. It has 33 validators. May end up with like 25. Moving it outside the EVM for higher throughput and putting it actually in the node itself. So it's kind of like if you're going to refactor and make stuff stronger, a bear market's a great time to do it.
100%.
And then the other thing is, Bitcoin worked good when there was no fees. When I was mining Bitcoin, there was literally no fees. You could send your transactions with no fees at all, and it worked good. So I still think I like these networks more for getting rich than I do for actually computation.
Guys, while we're on the topic, I would love to know from individually all of you guys representing your own brands what your guys' North Star is and where you guys kind of see yourselves in 2 years.
I swear to God, this will be the last time I talk for a little while. I'm going to give you guys time. Full vertical integration. Hex monetizes time. Pulse changes the consensus network. I've got a team building out a wallet to replace MetaMask. MetaMask has been fine so far, but actually they have a blacklist, and they accidentally blacklisted one of my sites one time. And I'm like, bro, what is this? Like, any MetaMask user now goes to my site, says that it's blocked because they have MetaMask installed. What the fuck is this? We had to go lobby them on GitLab to unblock the fucking site. Like, that's not okay. So,
not okay.
And then, they kind of jack people with their fees on the, they just forward their orders to 1.9% on your swap if you use the in-wallet swap feature. So, I mean, for redundancy and for, decentralization and robustness, I think it's good to have another wallet. So if I've got the wallet, I've got the trading with PulseX, our fork of Uniswap, I've got the consensus network with Pulse Chain, and I've got the storage of value with Hex. I've got complete and total vertical integration except for fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. That's it for me. That's my game.
Yeah, for us, Freddie with LFG, for us, it's really going to be to focus on that exponential growth outside. We've talked about utilities outside, redirecting those money pipelines to be able to really create value outside of the space on real traditional investments that will create that value for the token. That's really where we're headed.
From my point of view at Everise, like our mission is to build tools and just build a suite of the apps and continue to focus on security and improve and empower people with their choices through decentralization to make Web3 development faster for people looking to come into the space and process, and that's a real strong passion of ours across our 5 chains that we're currently on now and further chains in the future.
I'll just add to that, Jason, since we work for the same project. Yeah, over at Everise, we think the reality is in 10 to 20 years, decentralization to a certain extent will correlate and coalesce around optimal tech, but it will also want to correspond and correlate and coalesce around communities. And so these communities need to be minimally viable, but once they start forming and everybody gets their assets into self-custody, they're going to need foundation structure. So we're proud to build that. And we're proud to build tools to keep people's wallets safe and secure as best we can.
Definitely. I mean, I lead my own project. I'm taking the mining concept and really trying to translate it, beyond just crypto mining. And Google, they hit a home run with what I believe it's ad mining, and it took them to be $1 billion company. So that's the avenue or the niche I'm trying to build in crypto is really bringing that ad revenue in and that way. It takes a long time, but once those processes are built and the train is going downhill, anything's possible.
I love that, guys. Listeners, be sure to share the space, follow all the speakers up here, and we appreciate you guys for stopping by. We do have a new speaker, Sagriv. If I said your name incorrectly, I do apologize.
Okay, probably right. So, I mean, Richard, you're going to speak for the last time. We have that empty space. This wallet you're designing, is this something that is going to behave like every other wallet that's out there? Are you building a layer between, private keys and adding a layer of security between that?
I mean, it's mostly like every other wallet that's out there. I mean, I care more about security than most, but MetaMask kind of cares too. So I can't say that I'm building any type of real innovation there yet, but don't be surprised if you do see features like show me all my token balances across all my addresses, actually like batch send, like stuff like that. I care about. Wouldn't mind having everybody be able to claim all their free airdrops too, but it might be a vector for bad projects too. I got to decide on that one.
Yeah, slipping a bad contract in there that approves things that it shouldn't be approving. I get it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hector, so let's talk about something that you always love to talk about, right? The 1 megabyte limit that is preventing true scale. And Richard touched on it earlier. BTC and BCH by essentially picking a side, and here you are, a champion, and I believe you're a defeater of Bitcoin maxis that are just spewing the repetitive garbage that's out there, and you have this system that runs on the same rails essentially, right? That can do a lot more. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you see the future going? Because humanity is all about expanding and going faster, and to have something that they're saying is written in stone, not going to change. The value of Bitcoin doesn't go up 10x. There is no incentive for miners to keep mining, and I say 10x as a hyperbole. But go for it, man.
So yeah, BTC, like I said, has inherent flaws in it, and a lot of it stems from the transaction throughput capacity. People say it's fine, that it's meant for only the most pristine transactions. Well, if that's the case, then you'll never be able to have the world use it, because you have a limit of 600,000 transactions per day, which, if you're not willing to do it every 4 years, then your capacity as a miner cuts in half every 4 years. So that means everyone must pay double as much just to maintain status quo, not to necessarily increase the quote unquote security of the network. So if that's the case, then we trend towards higher fees. And if we trend towards higher fees, you price out more and more people as we go along that curve, right? So if that's the case and that's the belief, then BTC is not meant for everyone. It's meant for only the most elites and the most rich to be able to transact on chain, and everyone else can screw off onto layer 2, layer 3, which is of why you went into Bitcoin, kills the properties of the whole narrative of running your own node, and you're effectively left with nothing because it doesn't change anything. You're still requiring middlemen to do everything else for you. So that to me, and BTC and can't get over that hump, because even if they had high number of transactions, because they're at 250 right now, 250,000, the costs are still ridiculously high. They need to increase the throughput. So that doesn't happen. So for me, I believe in but BTC is a poor implementation of that. And the issue that is why I moved into BCH, then subsequently moved into BSV, for the fact that it is the higher throughput capacity, which I believe leads to people to create real world applications that utilize a blockchain, and that blockchain can be done and it can scale with the necessary business models that can can be attained using the internet, right? So right now we're limited by 2.9% plus 30 cents to move value across the internet fairly easily using payment networks. And Bitcoin allows that to change, right? And BTC does not allow that to change. That's why my stance is I am in Bitcoin SV. And for the sole purposes, I want to see that play out. I want to see high transaction capacity play out on a proof of work chain and allow people to create business models that I think would be superior than what we've seen, which I know would be superior than all this DeFi crap that we're seeing today. I want to see actual use cases occur and move into on a proof of work system rather than these centralized light paper crap that really doesn't have anything there when you really look behind the surface. So yeah, it's pretty simple in my belief, and I'm honestly understand I'm the outcast of the outcast. Like you might not even know what that is, but it does have merit. And when we speak technically and try to go at like the capacity of it, it does blow everything else out of the water. I'd say in terms of as a user, I've done it all. I've been part of it all. So yeah, that's just my take. I don't honestly don't I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I thankfully I've over the years. I'm not looking, I don't look at this to like try to dump it on someone else. I look at this as like I feel like this is an innovation and a change that I want to make a bet on. And that's my bet. My bet is that I believe companies can 10x their abilities against the status quo by having a scalable blockchain that will allow them to do so, and the businesses who do so will have to seek out this coin to be able to write to chain. And therefore, BSV to me is the only solution that does that today.
It's too easy, dog. I'm not gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna give you a pass.
If anybody likes to as
it.
well, dive into it. Rebuttal
Let's
gets after
go.
Hector.
Let's do
Hector's
this.
totally intelligent, knows his software, understands his stuff. I would love to hear a rebuttal to this.
I mean, every single blockchain is a ghost chain except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. They just spam up the BSV chain with stupid weather feed data to try and make it look like activity. His founder is a guy that's been claiming to be Satoshi for a whole lot of years, lost a court case for 85 million, and then said, "Hey, I won."
Well, the thing is, the reason the 85 million that is going to a company that he owns 70% in, so he's really paying himself back.
Isn't that always the case?
Well, I don't know if that's always the case, but I've dealt with litigation. I wasn't on the other end where I was fighting against myself or how to pay myself. But besides that like irrelevant thing, like I agreed with you in the sense that when Craig Wright came out in 2015, roughly 2014, he started talking a lot of stuff. But over the years, he's able to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And we have a scalable blockchain today. You may disagree with what the content is of what's on the blockchain, what people use it for, but it doesn't, and it can do whatever it wants to do. People have built stuff that is on Ethereum. There's even transpiler to transpile code from Solidity to Bitcoin script. So this is possible. This is a reality today, and we can argue on that.
How
But
much did you lose on those two plays, the BCH and then the BSV play? Because it seems like you got reloaded, man. That's like 295 downs in a row.
well, no, I got mine forked off.
Oh, all right.
So to me, it's a lot. And I'm not saying like I'm not just some like Bitcoin guy who doesn't get into this stuff. Like I'm a person who owns Ethereum, who's done all this stuff. Like I've been in DeFi, I've done all this stuff for years. Like I don't speak from like a naive perspective. I've been in Bitcoin and I've held Bitcoin, I've held the forks, and I understood what the forks did. And I completely agree today with you in the sense that BTC is garbage, it's dead, because of these like inherent issues it has now. And I agree with you that you feel that you can find a better way to fix that, and I just disagree that I think Bitcoin still can be fixed.
So one thing that I just heard is the fork concept that you forked Ethereum, you're rebranding it as Pulse Chain. How is this possible, right? You've been successful with Hex. You built up this what I believe is adequate liquidity. But when you fork something and then you bring that over, because Hex now exists on two sides. Am I correct? It exists on Pulse Chain, and it exists on Ethereum. How are you handling, I guess, pricing or the liquidity of something that, or how did you? Can you speak to how this is happening? That you're airdropping all of these, and you're still running the OG hex on Ethereum, what should people expect, right? And is it going to be volatility early, watching paper hands sell their airdrops, and just weathering that storm because you believe in what you're doing? What does that look like?
I mean, basically, there's 660 million sit in the sacrifice addresses, so people believe in the political messages that kind of led to these things. And if you got the same code and you've got liquidity and you've got a functioning consensus network, I think people want their free coins. I think they want to play with this stuff, and it's important to launch at zero for tax purposes anyway, so it's hard to dump from zero.
100%, 100%. Are you working with exchanges to have this, further proliferate what you're doing in Pulse, or you're just gonna? I'd say it's bootstrap at a different level. You're just gonna.
I mean, the only exchange I know that's listening to it is OKX so far, but they didn't come out public with it, so we'll see.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Jason, and Peter, Everrise for a year, right? You guys have been consistent in growing your technology stack, and keeping community engaged. What do we foresee in the near future for Everrise?
Peter, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I mean, thanks for the kind words. We definitely have a few focuses, and as I've mentioned before, security is topmost among them. So it is software, essentially, that aims to keep people secure. Ways to revoke token approvals. Equally important to that is developing that community and having those conversations. In my view, again, the space is going to coalesce around certain factors over time. So if Everrise itself is kind of associated with a brand of free and open conversations about best practices, that to me is almost the most exciting part of the project. We host daily spaces where people can come and talk about ideas, theories, things that we can elevate to the dev team. So to me, the most exciting thing is to see the teams take ownership of the direction of the project over time. There's deliverables, of course, that the developers and the CEO are focused on, including a full-scale project launchpad, so that we can enable people with good ideas, people of conscience, people with ethics, to come to the forefront of the space and say, look, I have an idea about how I want to organize a minimum viable community, but I don't necessarily have the tech knowledge to participate in the space yet. So again, my view of DeFi, and that's the space of the title of the space, my version of DeFi is one in which communities of similar interests, similar hobbies even, similar values can coalesce, and then have a way to efficiently allocate capital among each other. So that depends upon external solutions, on bringing external value to a project. And when a community, the Everrise community, can associate with a brand, the decentralized applications that are being put out, then you get into this kind of dual set where, both sides sustain the other side. The community elevates the brand, the community spreads awareness about the project, and at the same time, the developers provide solutions that everybody can use, no matter what project you're in. So people say unified DeFi a lot. I think that's fine to an extent, but I do think projects will develop over time that don't have to share the same values, but they do have to share the same security. And that's the theme that we've been talking about, these centralized exchanges, these banks that spend all of their time figuring out how to apply externalities to our transactions. These are the entities that DeFi aims to combat aggressively, and Everrise is proud to be a part of finding a way to allocate value in a more efficient manner.
Absolutely. We look at ways and means to offer solutions to the projects. Next, the app that we've got launching, is going to be, a launch pad. But the launch pad is going to be across the 5 chains that we're on, and we'll be giving out to developers the ways and means to with these utilities that are often quite first to market. The ability to lock, secure your smart contract onto the blockchain behind a community vote to make key decisions on function changes, liquidity changes. Obviously, a community held vote for initial LP, like the custody of the initial LP that's raised. Ever migrate, being able to migrate over to a new version of a smart contract. Being able to essentially have a swap that doesn't activate the swap. Very commonplace actually. There's a lot of smart contracts that have that, which adds sell pressure to the chart, which is just not healthy for projects looking to grow and build. So again, we identify issues, problems that are plaguing DeFi. We get feedback from the community, from other developers, and we put our heads down and we build solutions, and we won't stop doing that.
Catcoin, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome to.
Yes, Andrew, thank you so much. Hello, guys. Hello, friends. Because I consider everyone on this space a friend, and that's why we are here together to bring the products better for the changing the world in this space. So I am Acosti from Romania, from Bucharest. I'm graphic designer. I spend my time with communities and with charity as well. Ukraine is happening something, and I help people from Ukraine as well. But regarding on blockchains and bitcoins and stuff like that, I think uh, next step is I don't know which one says about Bitcoin needs to be improved, and yeah, with all space we can do that.
Appreciate
And
that, Cat.
yeah, and even with with his product as well. I have like look, I am Catcoin and I own in my wallet Hex. So yeah, this is like helping each other project is the way that we can all together we will change the world in a better place to live. Yeah,
Appreciate that, Cat Coin.
yeah.
KG, what you got for us, man?
Tech, excuse me. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you good.
Man, thank you for the opportunity. Building the best layer one there is. So we are internet money, and we are actually building upon Pulse Chain. And Richard, I'm not sure if you know this yet, but we are building a native Pulse Chain wallet. And we're doing a couple cool things to not only bring adoption to crypto, but to bring adoption to Pulse Chain as well. So we are a tokenized crypto wallet, and we're doing it before. Our wallet, like MetaMask, like Trust Wallet, like all the other wallets out there, a fee is charged when a user swaps from one asset to another. But unlike those other wallets, rather than paying the fee in the asset you're swapping out of, the user pays the fee in the form of the blockchain's native coin. Then that native coin, the fee that is generated, is paid out to the holders of our native token. So I bring that up to show that this wants to but with the tech that we're building, every single thing we're doing is centered around user experience, cleanliness, organization, approachability, education, and to add an additional layer of simplicity and to remove a barrier to entry, we're giving every user who downloads our wallet free crypto. If you download the wallet, which will be an Android app, iOS app, and Chrome browser extension, you'll be airdropped free Pulse Chain's native currency, and that's
So,
the overall pitch.
what are the and this might be for Richard. If you in Ethereum we have ERC20s, in Binance we have BEP20s. What's the I guess the labeling for for a sub token in Pulse?
PRC20.
PRC20. Okay, that's good to go. Good to go. All right, KG, you got a good shill on Pulse through there. Good luck on the project. I'll say this. Oh, we got Dow Chemist in the house. Dow.
Hey, what's good, guys? How's everybody doing?
Doing well, Dal, yourself?
Yeah, I've been listening, man. It's a great conversation. I love how you guys touch on different chains. My 2 cents on DeFi, and might be a bit contradictory, but I think institutions are going to adopt DeFi in massive scale next 2 to 3 years. I know it kind of goes against the idea of decentralization, but we're just providing a financial layer to express any economy. So whether it's the digital economy, the real economy, the metaverse economy, it's just a better financial. Uh, whether it happens on one chain or multiple chain, like it doesn't really matter. But I think that's where we're going, and you're starting to see some interest. The only limitation I see for that adoption, obviously, is regulation, UX, but also liquidity. If we're able to have bigger liquidity pools and vaults that they can leverage, because I think those players are not looking to put 5 or 10 million; they're probably looking to put 100 million. So, can we absorb that type of liquidity? That's really important for them. So, I enjoyed the conversation. Just want to say hi to you guys. Love it. So, I hope you keep it going too.
I don't know if we have the bandwidth for that. You know, everyone has things to do, but this is a good start to start, you know, Saturday. You know, Richard, we appreciate you coming by. Freddie, Jason, Peter, Hector, always. Um, if anyone wants to put any closing thoughts, I'm not saying we're going to close out right now, but sometimes people want to keep running the closing thoughts to start getting the mindset that we're going to start winding this down. So put that out there.
Go for it.
If we were like, let's picture crypto's mainstream, and you go to a coffee shop and you want to buy a coffee. What are you using? What token? What are you using?
Internet money on Pulse Chain.
I'm using whatever makes sense at the time, right? That whatever's to my advantage for whatever it is I'm trying to do. Because you know there's people that are, you know, Binance Maxis, and they'll have their ETH wrapped, their BTC wrapped, and that's $1 transaction. When you're doing business with a mining company, they want their stuff in USDT, right, or Bitcoin. So it's all, you know. I'm in all of it right now, and hope that, you know, Bitcoin. I don't believe it's like Richard was alluding to, right? I don't believe there's 100x anytime soon, but it is the foundation of everything. So I always make sure I have some of that.
Miss Teen, I think you're asking like what's gonna be the one, like the one that.
No, like if you were to go to a coffee shop, what would be your token to use to purchase coffee? Like that's the question. Not like what's going to be the one, but like if you were to go to a coffee shop right now and say, hey, like, all right, what crypto in my wallet can I use right now to pay for this? What's feasible? What's fast?
I think the infrastructure is there right now, right, for the Lightning Network with Bitcoin, right? There's countries adopting Bitcoin, and the infrastructure is there with the Lightning. So I probably would say Bitcoin for myself.
I just use Visa.
If I was using crypto,
Apple Pay.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be
Miss
different.
Teen, what would, because you asked the question, what would you use?
I mean,
right now?
I'm sitting here at this moment, Litecoin.
Why? I mean, the real answer right now is that you're not selling, you're using crypto now. You're holding your crypto, right?
Right.
Well, at least in the United States, right?
I've transacted in Litecoin plenty of times, a lot, yeah, often.
Why Litecoin?
It's fast, cheap, easy. You could do it on Apple Pay too. Like if you have the Litecoin card, you could hook that up to Apple Pay on your phone and tap and pay with Litecoin.
So with these cards, because it's like I feel like they pulled one on me. Because I mean I got the crypto.com card, right? And I remember like the advertising felt like I could just like have
they got
Bitcoin
you
in that
tagged.
wallet.
Matt Damon got you good, huh, Tech?
They
Matt
got
Damon,
you tagged.
but yeah.
And then when you have the card, and I'm at Petco at the time trying to buy some fish for my daughter, and it keeps declining. I'm like, I have the crypto, and I learned that I got to go sell my cryptocurrency and then use it as a checking account. Like that defeats the whole point of it.
Correct.
Right. So is that Litecoin card like that, or is that something different?
No, like you send Litecoin to the balance, and you just have the physical card, or you have like obviously like the card number, like any other debit or credit, and you can just add it to Apple Pay or transact like you usually would.
Does the card itself have its own entity?
It's what do you mean by that? I mean, I know
Does
use
it have its
Visa.
own? Does it have its own balance? Does the card have?
Yeah, it's like you have to load it with Litecoin.
Right, but it has to have a clearing, like a clearinghouse, right? It's got to be a bank, right? So, do you have to change it? Does it cost a fee to change it? Because if you got to put your Litecoin in and then you got to pay a fee to exchange it to USD, doesn't that defeat the purpose?
Like when you spend it, it's very, very, very low.
Okay, but there's still a fee.
But
Like
I don't see this being spent as Litecoin.
it's
I
like
see it being
pennies,
spent as
like
actual
less.
currency still.
But like, why would
How?
you sell assets at a 95% dip? Like, why wouldn't you just like buy them instead?
100%.
No, I'm just saying
Right.
like I'm not saying I'm like we're selling crypto right now. I'm like saying like if crypto's if you all right now you have crypto in your wallet, you don't have cash, you could go spend crypto. What would you use was the question. Like I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to say sell crypto. I'm just saying like if you're using it as money, what would you use?
I mean, it doesn't matter because no one accepts any of this stuff, right? You're just gonna have to use the credit card middle party, and all the credit card middle parties accept a lot of coins.
You know,
Right.
for me, like it'll take something massive, like a company like PayPal or Amazon or something, to really have Bitcoin holdings on their balance sheet, and then literally you would have a split wallet. So you'd have a fiat wallet and you'd have a crypto wallet to buy assets with. I don't. It's right now isn't a very easy time to start looking at implementing crypto as a actual transaction, as a currency, when there is a legacy system is working and you're not paying the fees that you were paying on for converting crypto to fiat.
Well,
Use crypto as currency. Like, why wouldn't we be looking to do that? Isn't this like, like I don't understand. I'm a
Because
little puzzled.
it would need regulation, and it would need big players to actually instigate that, not just the community. It would need like the powers that be would have to kind of want that to happen.
What if it just becomes inevitable like it is and people just start accepting crypto like they accept cash?
Yeah, I mean, if people are happy to pay the transaction costs of conversions, then yeah, by all means, people can make a case of that. But again, when we talk about adoption, people generally flock to the easiest way of purchasing goods, right, and services, and I don't know if the easiest way right now is crypto.
that's really what it boils down to, Miss Teen. I've looked at other different country, particularly what you're talking about, right? Because user experience, why not make it easy? Why not? But I think Richard and Jason both hit the nail on the head. I mean, you're talking about the intent and the purpose wasn't so much to just buy to transact, because you need to be a bank and you need to have all these financial instruments. It's you buy it and to hold, to create that wealth. So yeah, I don't see it happening.
As soon as somebody else wants to use it to buy coffees, you won't be able to afford the fees anymore. It's that easy.
But what about
That's right.
but Litecoin? There basically are no fees. It's like a cent or less. Like John Kim bought a Lambo for I guess a few $100,000, $400,000, and it was like a penny or less for his transaction. So like, why wouldn't that be feasible? With
Does
like,
someone want to explain the bid auction market for the limited block space?
It's probably a much
Bitcoin used to be free too. As soon as people start using it, you can't afford it anymore.
No, it's okay. All right, we can move on then. But I don't know. That's what I use. That's what I would prefer if I was paying for something. Litecoin, whether it's $1 or whether it's a few $100,000 or millions, it's a feasible way to transact. It's quick. It's extremely cheap.
So is XRP, so is XLM. So is every empty blockchain.
But like Bitcoin, then like wherever Bitcoin is, Litecoin is.
I mean, they all use coin payments. They support everybody.
Yeah, I think you're focused more on the ease of use versus crypto to buy stuff. I could be wrong.
I mean, if you got a seller that's willing to accept crypto, then that's all very well and good. I mean, you can transact very quickly with minimal fees, but it's when you're looking to kind of mix in with the actual fiat world and then start to load up a card, the fees associated with that. If we like a great amount of people doing that, costs would go up, and it isn't the most efficient way of transacting. at the moment.
I mean, in terms of swapping to USD, Litecoin is like the fastest and cheapest to do that, as I
I still
recall.
think XRP is cheaper and XLM too.
It is. They are.
XM's
More
like
people are using
0.01.
Litecoin.
Litecoin does have the trust and time.
How about
I think you
Dogecoin?
broke up.
Yeah, can we speak on Dogecoin real quick?
Real quick,
I mean,
before you get on to Dogecoin, I just wanted to point out that crypto.com, like Tech said, you got to sell your crypto and convert it to USDC. At Coinbase, you set your crypto that you want your card to withdraw it from, and when you swipe it, it automatically sells it, converts it, and then processes the transaction.
But I think we should honor her
still
for pointing
selling.
out that I think we should honor her for pointing out that cheaper fees are good and that lower middleman stuff is good. And so, like, as a guy starting a chain to like make everyone pay less fees, I support that. You know, like less fees are nice.
So let's talk about that with Litecoin. So you're selling an asset. Are you selling an asset when you transact in Dogecoin? And Jason, to your point, you were talking about having a large company or large entities, you know, to be able to accept and propagate that economy, right? So is Tesla doing that? And is that not a fork off of Litecoin? So that kind of solves your issue with selling the assets. It is inflationary, you know, to an extent, and that it's not a fixed, you know, capped asset, right?
You know, I dare say in the future there'll be, like I said, there will be transactions which will be side by side. You'll have the option of paying in crypto or in fiat. I think we'll see that more and more as this develops and as more companies get into blockchain. I just think at the moment it comes with its own challenges, is what I was trying to get at, and it's not necessarily the most efficient way of purchasing goods, especially when you're looking at a coffee, a cup of coffee or something like that. If you've got a seller that wants the asset, without having to go through conversion, wants to receive Litecoin, then yeah, it's a very efficient way of purchasing an asset, as opposed to what's out there at the moment. So
the issue is that it's a function of competition. The market's for 100 years to be very competitive. Like, people think that Visa and MasterCard are making an absolute killing, but in reality, I'm not sure they are. So, for instance, you pay 1.5% as a merchant to accept Visa or MasterCard. And what do Visa and MasterCard do? They let your customers spend more money than they actually have by lending them money. Well, that's oftentimes worth 1%. And they also make the customer feel happier to spend their money because they know that if something goes wrong, they can get their money back, or they get an enhanced warranty, or they get cash back for using. They also have all these little side games with airline miles and other types of reward programs. When you add all that shit up, it adds up to like 1.5% of value. And then when you pay with crypto, you get nothing. You get no cash back. You get no chargeback ability to protect yourself from people screwing you. You get no side games. You get like almost nothing in return. So the vast majority of people would greatly prefer to pay for something with a Visa or MasterCard or Amex instead of crypto, because it gives the person that does the purchasing so much more power and value in return. And the person that's doing the purchasing.
I'd echo that 100%, and you can even increase that complexity by thinking about Amex, right? It's a whole nother game, to your point.
That's a great point.
I got a black card. I pay them $5,000 a year. American Express Black Centurion. I pay them $5,000 a year to fuck over retailers for an extra percent, charging them 2.5% instead of 1.5%. And then I suck their balls and beg them to give me a little bit back in these stupid airline programs that I don't fucking use.
Exactly. We pay our power bill with that. And that's exactly how that works.
I mean, I know you've got a Litecoin bag, it's fine, but like, there's a lot of very affordable things. All the payment processors that let you use your Litecoin, the retailer.
But Litecoin has the most volume in terms of transactions, like out
No,
more
but like
growth.
I bought $10 million of watches with fucking not Litecoin, and I bought the world's largest diamond with not Litecoin, and I bought 3 million
And that's
euros of
cool.
cars without Litecoin, and it's working really good because BitPay accepts all this shit. So BitPay accepts lots of stuff that ain't Litecoin.
Yeah, what's the unique value prop of Litecoin?
The same
Time.
company that lets you accept Litecoin lets you accept all the other stuff too. If you don't
That's exactly
accept,
my
if you're
point. But
not
I'm
using
saying
that company, then it all's
I agree with
USD
you.
anyway. They're all just USD proxies. The retailer that sells you that shit's dumping whatever you gave him for fucking USD. He's not taking the volatility risk.
Exactly, that's exactly it. So I'm trying to ask her, what is the value proposition that is unique to Litecoin? As you're
She
advocating
owns it.
Litecoin, rather. No, I understand that. I'm trying to see if there's like some sort of like
Well,
intrinsic reason.
it's a user experience more, I think, and I don't want to, you know.
But I'm saying like
It's just like times Bitcoin supply. It's essentially the same thing.
right. But I'm saying it's like it could be XYZ coin. It could be anything, right? Like there's no difference there. It could be any other coin. Insert coin here. I'm trying to figure out if there is a reason that it should be Litecoin, or if there is a reason that she has that I might not be aware of why it is Litecoin.
I mean, like, try to buy, like, all right, John Kim bought a Lambo with Litecoin, paid less than a cent for it. Try buying a Lambo with the ETH. Like, what is that going to be like?
I bought a fucking Lambo with ETH. I did it. It worked fine.
What about the fees? So.
You don't care about fees. If you're willing to buy a JPEG for $20
right.
fees, you don't care about Lambo.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where you get into this discussion of what's value worth to you. Value to me is in these other things are way higher than saving more than those percentages. So it's opinion based.
And the reason why your fees are so cheap right now on Litecoin is because nobody's using it. Like it's a very
That's
low.
not true.
No, it is true. Like we can literally look at the charts and see the transaction that happen per day. It's roughly like 60,000 transactions per day, which is like a third of Bitcoin, which Bitcoin is like a fifth of Ethereum. So it doesn't even. I don't think it's even relevant to the sense of like this is a high usage chain.
And we will make statements like no one's using it, and we know someone's using it. It's just in comparison to.
I don't know. I
Thanks for
think
having
more
me up,
research
guys.
needs to be done on Litecoin. That's all I'm saying.
What was that again? Repeat that.
I think more research needs to be done, my friends.
But no, I've literally been in Litecoin since like the early days of Litecoin. Like I've done the research, and I'm telling you that it doesn't do anything special. Like it has lower block times for what? It has more coins for what? Like it doesn't do anything that's better than any other Bitcoin derivative. I'm saying like
just like the tire market, there's Michelin. They all do the same thing, right?
Right, but I'm saying like I'm not selling. I'm saying it's being sold as a unique value prop. So I want to understand what the unique value prop is. But if there isn't one, then why are you buying it? Like right now, I'm telling you BTC's dead. It's the same thing. BTC's dead right now because of its actual properties. Litecoin is dead because it doesn't have any unique properties that are better than Ethereum, for example. Like you can't do the things you do on Ethereum that you can do on Litecoin. Like you don't have any other way to economically spend your Litecoin rather than buying stuff using a Visa gift card. Like using a Visa card. No, but I'm saying like today, like you just said, the biggest use case right now is to go use a credit card that uses like BitPay to transact your Litecoin to be able to basically transfer USD value over to the merchant, because the merchant's not going to take your Litecoin. They're going to sell it right at the point of purchase.
Hector, like the whole point of like my question at the start was just to say, if you were to purchase something, and what would be something that's cheap and feasible to do that with? All I'm saying is that Litecoin would be the coin I would use to do that.
Ethereum to
it's
Ethereum.
Cheap, it's fast, it's easy,
but the reason you have those cheap is you're not the cheapest thing. Like Dogecoin is cheaper than you. Bitcoin Cash is cheaper than you.
Dogecoin wouldn't be a thing without Litecoin. Like, what
no, it doesn't.
If you like Doge, you have to like Litecoin.
No, but I'm saying like I'm saying your unique selling proposition is that you're saying that it's cheap. BCH itself is cheaper. Like it's fractions of a cent. BSV is a fraction of a cent. So like those are much cheaper, and the reason that they're much cheaper, they both have higher transactions. So when the fact that Litecoin goes up in transaction volume, like BTC goes up in transaction volume, your costs are going to go exponentially higher, which is going to defeat your own prop of being cheap, which is in contrast to BCH and BSV. Like for example, BSV had 20 million transactions in a 24-hour period. Each average transaction cost was 0.001 cents. So that still is an intact value prop at a very high throughput capacity, which is not the case.
That same argument you're making also applies to Ethereum, right?
Guys, the real risk here is not that you're paying X in fees. It's that you get fucking wrecked holding a bag of trash, right? Like Charlie Lee sold the top and dumped on you and abandoned his own fucking project and lied about integrating confidential transactions is just rather generally scummy. So, you know, it's a fee instead of a 1 cent fee. It's you're going to lose 99% of your fucking money holding a shit coin.
I think that goes into the argument of intrinsic value, though. Like, you have to understand what the intrinsic value is. Like, I believe that's why I argue for Ethereum versus BTC, that Ethereum has intrinsic value because there's economic things you can do with it, right? Like, they may suck, they may not be the best things, they may not be like, you know, the most pro
Let me give you an example.
economic ideas.
Let me give you an example. I told you how to sell BCH for Bitcoin when it was 0.19. That it's now like it dropped 99%. It was high. 0.5 was its high, but it dropped 99%. So while you're waiting for your low fees, you're losing all of your money sitting there before you do your transaction. You buy it, you're losing money. You hold it, you're losing money. The guy that takes it from you, he's losing money. Everyone feels bad for ever having touched it.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to argue these things, like in the context of this market, like, then you have to argue that these markets are highly efficient at price discovery, which these markets are very highly inefficient, very highly illiquid compared to the traditional markets. That it creates a high inefficiency, and also it's a very narrative driven market. So no one actually knows what they're buying. Like right now, we just had someone talk to us about Litecoin, and they're telling me to look into it when I looked into it when it barely came out. So that's where we're at. That's like we're not in a very, very educated investor group, is what I'm saying. Well, yeah, I agree with you that the price did go in that direction. Sure, that's fine, but that doesn't speak on the merits that this market is very efficient in its sense.
All right. We've been running out for so I'm Richard. Do you have any closing thoughts? And I'll hand it around for everyone.
Get your free airdrop. Get your free airdrop. Play with your free coins, man. PulseChain.com, world's largest free airdrop. You know, you're tired of getting wrecked? Go play with your coins on a testnet right now. Super easy. Hex.com, big dip, drop 90%. You know, things with product market fit, sometimes they don't drop much more than that. I think it dropped 95 total.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Follow me.
Love that. Jason, Peter, do you guys have anything you guys like to put forth for Everrise?
Yeah, sure. I mean, not Everrise, but just in terms of the long-term success of this space. I think a lot of market participants have to remember that there's only so much value in the world. Like cryptocurrency and DeFi don't exist to make everybody obscenely rich and living in mansions and having Lambos. It exists to kind of rearrange the distributive policies that the world has come to agree upon, not by any unanimity, but just almost by accident. So as we evolve and as the space continues to grow and as communities form, everyone should just be super careful about where they put their own value, because you're deciding who gets to share in the fruits of your labor. So target projects and people that are here for the long haul, that are building, and that you agree with their ethic. And then hopefully things work, because nobody knows what's really going to happen. I hope it all works out for us. I hope we all make it, but you never know. So good luck to everybody.
Absolutely. And just to follow on to that, DeFi is here to stay. It's going to get bigger and better and evolve with time. The community is going to get more experienced. And it's important that we have forums like this and all over Twitter Spaces, and Telegram groups out there discussing DeFi and the pros that it has and brings to the space. And accountability and transparency from the leaders within the space. Projects that are building, find out as much as you can about them. Do your own research. Don't rely on just what you've heard from a influencer or a content creator on YouTube. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of educational content that's being made every single day. I help make some of that at Everrise, but there's lots on YouTube that you can watch. And just out there, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak with these awesome people.
That's awesome. Freddie?
Tech Andrew, thank you so much for the opportunity. I love always talking with these guys, Jason, Peter, Hector, all of you, Richard. I mean, just brilliant minds and always looking for collaboration. That is the only way we are going to move forward. Believe that. I think for us, our mission has been very simple from the beginning, and it's just to create that new out of the box thinking, think of better ways to create that value, keep pushing and focusing on exactly what Jason was saying, the people behind the project. I think we get lost in the emotion. Richard was talking a little bit about that, the emotion mob. When we came into this space, me being new to this space, that was a thing that I took very personally. And what I figured out after 22 years is that the emotions was what made our business really well. And so for us, building that community, look at the entrepreneur, look at their track record, look at how long it's taken them to fail, to be successful. All of these projects have different value propositions. You have options. One option may not be better than the other. They're just different options. But don't poo-poo those. Don't poo-poo those projects. Learn about them. Lean on them. Again, for us, it's very simple. Creating that simple message, going out there and creating other new opportunities, and bringing that wealth, that generational gap back into the project. So thank you so much to everybody.
That's awesome. Before we go to Miss Teen Crypto and Hector, be sure to follow all the speakers up here. Be sure to follow them. Everyone knows what they're talking about. They're all well educated. It's why the three of us, me, Dom, Akeem, and Tech, the four of us rather, put together this space of people who know what they're talking about to provide the best educational content out there. I will reiterate, nothing up here is financial advice, all just educational purposes only. Be sure to follow everybody up here. If you have any questions, feel free to DM myself, Tech, Dom, open accessible, which is great on them. Aside from that, Miss Teen Crypto, then Hector.
Thank you, Sir Andrew. Nice intro there. Thank you for having me. Before I didn't mean for things to get a little intense and spicy. I just wanted to see what people would want to spend. I didn't mean for it to go any which way. Hector, we're still friends. Peter, Jason, Akeem, Freddie, Tech, Andrew, Dom, Sir Richard. He knows we're friends. We're all friends, and we're just having a cool discussion because that's what this is all about. We come in here, we exchange our ideas, we educate one another, give each other perspectives, which is so healthy, and that's what we need so we can have mainstream adoption and just collaborate and make that innovation, that zest. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I actually did have Richard Hart on my show to discuss a lot of this stuff, and I go live 1 to 4 times a week on the Miss Teen Crypto show. If you guys want to check that out on youtube.com/Miss Teen Crypto. But thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I always love talking to you guys.
Of course, it's always great to be disagree without being disagreeable. Hector, my man.
What's up? So I think the biggest takeaways for me is that I want to tell everyone is BTC is a literal scam, and Ethereum will never scale. Those are the things you can always remember, and those will come true, and you will eventually find that out. But besides that, what I do is basically I own software companies, and that's what I run. But I'm very into Bitcoin and crypto in general as a whole, just try to understand what's going on. So I usually talk in spaces, and it's mostly relevant to Bitcoin. And I'm a big proponent of Bitcoin SV, not because I have a bag, but because I truly believe that a scalable blockchain is going to be the way to unlock business potential in the future. And there's only one scalable blockchain, Bitcoin SV. And I would love for someone to come, change my mind and tell me that something else is more scalable. But as of right now, I hold this position, so I'm obviously willing to change.
Look into Cadena. Just look into Cadena. It's interesting.
I would gladly. And so, so I like to hold my position as that. And so, if anyone's willing to change my mind on BTC is a scam, Ethereum will never scale, or there's a more scalable blockchain besides Bitcoin SV, feel free to follow me and let me know, or DM me. I'm always responding to people's DMs, and I love to get into spicy debates.
Yeah. One thing about the panel.
Clearly,
one thing about the panel we put together today, these are people who are working on the blockchain. This is when I go into these spaces, I yell no rug pulls. This is what all these people are about. We're out here every day. We're building. We're doing it organically in our own way, and we're spreading our message. There is no right or wrongs. There might be some price winners here and there, but stick to the people who are showing up every day, are building community, and are out here educating. That's the important. That's that way you guys make the best decision. And even make us aware of things we need to improve on.
You guys don't be afraid to ask questions either. And to Tech's point, I mean, we arranged this week or last week, whenever it may be. Everybody up here, we sent DMs to Jason, Peter, Freddie, Miss Teen Crypto, Hector, Akeem, Richard, obviously. And it's great that everybody here is super, super accessible. So don't be afraid to access those people if you feel like you need to appropriately, obviously. But it's to their credit. They're doing a great job. Keep building in the space. Keep doing your own thing. Have your North Star and stay convicted, guys.
And I will end it by saying, yes, Hector, do look into KDA. And I never tell you to look into